This episode was recorded on January 25th, 2021.
All right, welcome everybody to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Taylon.
And I'm Shawenta.
And today we are discussing Wonder Woman Dead Earth. And also, just a quick note, unfortunately, our fourth co-host, Jake, was not able to join us today, so it was just the three of us. But yeah, so Wonder Woman Dead Earth, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, and with Mike Spicer as just the colorist. Okay. Oh, so Daniel Warren Johnson did story and art, but Mike Spicer did the color. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's kind of good to know. Actually, first.
Wow, I did not notice that he actually wrote it too, because I picked it because he drew it.
Ah.
But that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my theories I was trying to come up with, kind of came to like a thought of he did the art and then someone else did the story. That's what I thought at first. And so then when I read that interview, it was like, oh no, he wrote it as well.
Oh, did they have an interview in the back? Is that what?
No. Oh no. I sent a link.
Oh, right. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, that interview.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So, I don't know if this is just like going right out of the gate, pretty, I don't even know what to call it, but pretty intense. But I was one kind of criticism I had of this book is like it seemed unclear whether they wanted to make Wonder Woman and the Amazonians people of color or not. You know, it was just like it seemed like depending on the lighting, they wanted to switch back and forth to me. I was just all like, oh yeah, she kind of looks like maybe like she could be indigenous, or like maybe they're like trying to go more like the Greek route because that's like, you know, Greek gods and all that. But it's like, but in other lightings, you know, she just looks like plain old white Wonder Woman because that's how she was drawn in back in the day. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I had a similar thought, but I was more like, if they did that, I would not have appreciated that. I've been like, okay.
I mean, I don't mind, you know, either way, because it's like, but I just want a decision, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, if it's unclear. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, the art seems to run into that trouble of like inconsistency at times. Like when it's good, it's really good, and when it's not great, like it just is confusing, which is unfortunate for like sequential art like comics, where like consistency helps you keep going through the story.
Right.
I do appreciate I think I know what you kind of mean, where like her facial structure was kind of different than like the standard Wonder Woman they always do, and I liked that. Like I liked her kind of rounded face and nose. But yeah, I think they were kind of going for Greek, but like you were saying, it's not really clear.
Yeah. You know, speaking on the topic that you were saying, like with like how things are kind of inconsistent and unclear in a sequencing kind of way, I also kind of felt like that in the panel layout too, for me at times. Like it's very like, I feel like I would have preferred to read this in print, or at the very least on a tablet with like, you know, a bigger size, because it just seemed like they took the panels like very small. And so that was something that was like, at times I was like, oh wow, I can't see what's going on. I have to zoom in a lot.
Yeah, since we're going out of the gate, like talking about the art, I mean, I chose this because I think he's really good at action, and that's why I was like attracted to his art in the first place. But it's really cool to see his style, because action's really hard to do. Like, you can be a great artist, and then actually making the movement part is like so difficult, in my opinion. And so when he pulls it off, it's like awesome. Like the way they get flipped, they kicked around. Sometimes he almost does too much of the, like, after the beat, like, when someone's getting punched, you know, their face is already flown away and the punch is there, and so you're almost like, did the, like, hit actually happen? So, like, when it doesn't work, it's not great. I'm confused at what happened, but when it works, it's, like, so gorgeous. Like, I love certain panels of the action scenes. And you can tell, I feel like this story is very geared towards, like, his style of action, so it makes sense that he wrote it.
I will say I did not like the art, but I was really trying to think of, like, why is that? Because it's not like it's bad, because, you know, I did not confuse what shapes were, you know, like I could tell outlines, so I was trying to figure out, like, what about this art do I not like? And the closest thing I got to was that it was like fuzzy outlines. Like, that's the closest thing I got, and I kind of thought maybe that's pencil work. I don't know.
He has a really kind of messy style in a good way. That's why it works for a lot of the action scenes. And I've seen his work in, like, black and white, and he does it in ink, and it's gorgeous. But I'm almost wondering if, like, digitizing it and then coloring it almost, like, makes it lose something. Because he focuses so much on black and white. Like, it's probably might be clearer as black and white.
Okay.
Yeah, looking at some of these panels, I could definitely see that. I think that, you know, and it's interesting that, was his name, Mike Spicer, the colorist? I think that, you know, he gets credited on the front cover, you know, which is kind of interesting. Like, I'd almost, like, wonder, you know, I would think that, you know, usually it's like the writer and the artist get front cover billing, and then, like, part of my brain, like, does the little autocorrect where it's like, if one person did the writing, art, and color, would they, like, put the letter on the front cover? Probably not, but unless it was, like, some really fancy lettering, I think it's more likely that they feel like the color really adds to the story in some aspect.
I see.
Which I kind of see, you know, it definitely is a very, very provocative coloring. And so, yeah, I think, though, that the black and white, like, I don't know, like, I want it to be colored because it's, like, the hydras, is that what they're called, right?
I said Hydra, but
Hydras?
close enough.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Whatever. But, yeah, I wouldn't like to necessarily look at them more in black and white versus color, because they're so uniquely colored. But at the same time, yeah, I think actually I like the action scenes in color. I don't like the still scenes in color. That's what I think my
Gotcha.
how I'm feeling.
Like, I could definitely jive with what you were saying, Suwanta, about his action scenes being really good. I can definitely say that is something I noticed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's probably why you run into that problem. I mean, I said it already, but, you know, so geared towards action. Like, trying to communicate things that are not, like, constantly moving and fast-paced is probably less of an interest to him.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, instead of black and white, because I said black and white, but I've seen a lot of his work in grayscale too, and I think the grayscale might be even better. Like, the sense of shadow is really important to the story, so not doing color, but doing grayscale, I think I would really like that.
Yeah, I could see that a lot more too. I would like that. Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm not saying that I'm, like, not a fan of Mike Spicer's work now. You know, I just think it didn't fit for this.
I was about to say that. I was like, doesn't mean it's bad coloring. It's just probably not fit for, like, this kind of style for the story.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Yeah. I literally said what Cody said. I just don't think it's the right fit for this story.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, as far as the story, though, yeah, I think that it moves pretty fast, you know, it trucks along pretty well.
I agree with that, yep.
Yeah. I found it interesting, kind of the way, like, you know, so this is a DC Black Label book, you know, and we've kind of discussed. We read what did we read last? That was Black Label.
It might have been Harleen.
No, it wasn't Harleen. It was something in between there, but it was a Batman book. But basically, we like discussed the differences between like mainstream DC continuity and what they were presenting in the book, and like how we were supposed to make sense of it. It was the one with Jason Todd and Barbara Gordon. And
Three Jokers.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, that's so funny that I was like, I think it had Joker in it.
3 times.
Anyway, so yeah, that one was also a DC Black Label book, and you know, we discussed like the ways that it like matched the DC mainstream universe and the ways it didn't. And this one like really took, like, I was like, okay, this just isn't supposed to be the mainstream universe at all, because like things just are different, you know. Wonder Woman has extra power, but her like bulletproof cuffs are actually a power dampener. And like it seemed, one thing that I wanted more information on too was her relationship to Cheetah, because it seemed like, I don't know, they had more of a deeper and personal relationship than just like what was what I expected, I guess.
Well, when you fight
the regular like villain hero dynamic.
Say that again, Shawanta.
The regular hero versus villain dynamic, are you talking about? Is that the norm for her usually?
Yeah,
with Cheetah.
I mean, I feel like, because I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that Cheetah is kind of like one of her main mortal nemesises, you know, like she has like godly nemesises like Ares and stuff, but like Cheetah is like the main like human one that like joins the Legion of Doom and stuff like that.
She's Wonder Woman's Lex Luthor.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it seemed like, you know, they had a deeper personal history that I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah, I took it more like they I don't know. It's kind of a mix. Like at first I thought it was that they had just like fought for so long kind of thing, but then there's also and this story talks about like Wonder Woman like cares about people a lot, and so to me I think that was probably just part of her personality. It's just like caring for Cheetah.
Yeah, I guess that could be enough of an explanation. I'm probably gonna like so another thing too is it was just like happenstance, but I did watch Wonder Woman 1984 this weekend, so I'm like, and that featured Cheetah in it, and so I'm like, I'm gonna probably have to do a deep dive on her like comics, you know, and see exactly what her character history is, because I'm just like, she's a woman who has cheetah features, and that's what I know. Her name is Barbara.
In this comic, she even has the cheetah hand?
Yes, and I think that is so cool. I think that's so cool.
Gotcha.
I feel like I am outnumbered here. I'm thinking it's cool.
I mean, the action was awesome between the two. That thing biting down on, like, Wonder Woman's arm, too.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I would have liked to see more of that, like, kind of, like, basically we have Cheetah being, like, you know, experimented on, and then we have the Hydras, and then that's kind of it for, like, that kind of, like, weird, like, almost body horror kind of situation. And I'm like, I could have stood with more of that.
Need a little more body horror in this story.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to have it, you know, you gotta kind of just, like, keep doing it.
that's, I think, like, overall with the story, like you were talking about, it goes very fast. And I can appreciate, like I've said this many times, I can appreciate a story that goes, there's this thing that's going to happen, okay, we're going to do it now. Or there's a secret, oh, we're going to reveal it within the next few, issues. We're not going to just drag it out forever. But I think that also comes with the whole fact that, like, I feel like they don't explore enough of, like, certain parts. Like, they have this whole city, Last Hope, or I think that's what it was called. The Walled City. Which one?
Camp Hope.
Camp Hope, okay.
Or Camp New Hope. New Hope.
Yeah. Big castle-like structure almost, and it's supposed to be just temporary, and, like, there's not these great conditions, and I feel like it gets resolved so quickly almost that I can't get a better idea of, like, the actual severity of any of the situations, because it's like, oh, it's bad is what I'm told, and then, like, oh, we'll fix it then. Forgiveness and niceness.
Yeah.
But, so I feel like it moves you forward almost a little bit too fast, but, I mean, the action's so good.
Yeah, I had a similar feeling, just, like, I can't quite remember the exact scene that it was, but it was, like, after Wonder Woman left, you know, because the big secret got revealed and stuff like that, and then, like, I can't remember what it was, but I was like, man, I care about these characters in, like, a human way, you know? Like, they're humans, I'm human, I don't want them to suffer, but I don't really care about these people, like, in a dramatic way.
Right.
Yeah, Wonder Woman does that whole thing of, like, I care about you because I see, I don't remember what his face is, the dude who's in Wonder Woman's backstory.
What dude?
So we got Tall D.
It's
the D.
The one. Yeah, Wonder Woman relates D, who's a girl, to that guy. I don't know Wonder Woman stuff.
Like the bad guy in this story.
No, from the movie. The guy Chris Pines plays.
Oh, Steve Trevor. Right.
Okay.
Okay, I got you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Man, that's actually okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now, and I was just, like, so struggling, but I see it now. Okay.
The guy.
Yeah.
The singular guy. But, so she relates, like, D to Chris Pine. Chris Pine's got... you just
Steve
told
Trevor.
me the name. Steve?
Steve.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Steve. Okay.
Yeah, he's basically Captain America, so... You know?
No wonder I kept trying to say Steve Rogers. I was like, it's not Steve Rogers, don't say that. But, so what I was trying to say is she, you know, relates the, like, kind of their character, like, she's like, oh, I can see it in their eyes, like, the inquisitiveness and the interest, and that's in all humans, and that's why I love them. But, I'm like, but who are they? Like, they have a sister to care for. She has a sister who she's trying to protect, and that's why she does some of, like, the bad things in the story. But I don't know. It's unfortunate that, like, Wonder Woman gets so much time to be, like, angry about stuff and have some emotional, like, depth. And in return, the characters are always like, but we believe in her in the end. Like, they have that one moment where they're like, she abandoned us. That's kind of mean. But we think she'll come back because we believe in her. Like, such a platitude kind of thing.
Yeah, I agreed with that. And...
Oh, no. You made believers out of us.
What?
I think that's what D says.
Oh.
You made believers out of us.
Yeah, at some point. I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah, I would have liked more development of her, and, like, also or more development of, like, the entire camp or whatever, you know, and all of the different people that were there. And also, like, yeah, actually, I felt like it, you know, now that you're kind of talking about it, it's like, it really did go, like, faster than it should have, because, like, they were on the boat for, like, 2 seconds in my mind, and then they found Themyscira, and I was just like, so a little bit of context, too, for the story. So basically, like, you know, it's a it's a wasteland kind of thing. There's just like a camp of survivors of humans, and then Wonder Woman appears, and then
she gets found.
Right, she gets found, and she wants to take them to Themyscira because, of course, like a different name for it is Paradise Island. You know, if there's this big like fallout, you know, of course, Paradise Island is going to be a paradise, and so like, why wouldn't you bring people there?
Oh, I took it more like it seemed more plausible to me because she was like they had protective barriers.
Right. Yeah. I mean that too. You know, so it's like it really did seem like it would work out, and then like, you know, 2 seconds later after they start their journey, you know, it's like they find it and it doesn't work out. I'm like, okay. Like, I mean, I could have felt, you know, a little bit more like emotional burden of like, man, we've been on this long journey to find this magical island, and now it hasn't worked out.
It's almost like a lack of build-up to like the big event, so like I almost don't realize the severity of stuff or like how exciting this should be. And so the whole thing with them like, oh, we believe in her, so we're gonna do this. I feel like at least like, so their motivation is always like, well, we believe in her, so we're gonna fight for her and do these things. And but like, you know, of course they have some self-preservation, but I feel like their characters kind of all become the same in the way they express this belief in Wonder Woman.
Yeah. You know, also another thing too was like that part where the character, it's Tal. Yeah, the character Tal. I think it's Tal anyway.
Like the guy who has like the sort of eye patch.
Yeah, and he's kind of like he's like broad-shouldered. Yeah, he like Wonder Woman when she was leaving was all like, you have what it takes to be a leader. I've met a lot of leaders and you seem like all of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but what parts? You didn't even flash back to different leaders you've met. Like that would have been like at least a shorthand. But you've said nothing. Like you could be lying.
The audience gets none of it. Yeah, the audience like just has to be like, okay, I guess she saw, you know, Tal do something at some point that was cool, but we don't get to see it.
Yeah.
No, wasn't Tal one of the people who rescued her? I'm sure that was it.
I guess. Like
rescuing isn't a sign of a leader though, is it?
No.
Yeah. It just seems like, you know, if that were the case too, I would have expected Wonder Woman to say more outright.
Yeah.
It's because you could run away, but instead you like fight for what's right or whatever. You know, another platitude, but still like it would be some sort of explanation.
Yeah.
Instead of
a reference to some sort of action the character did.
Yeah.
And like along those lines, like if like he was fine, then like why not D?
Yeah.
And he's just bigger, stronger, probably.
I guess.
Here's my question. So to me, D seemed like a kid. That's what I was thinking.
Yes and no. I mean, she seems like a young, like, yeah, I would say she's like probably like, you know, obviously school doesn't exist in this universe, but like probably like high school, late high school. Yeah. So like probably an adult
graduate from high school.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like really like, because I don't think the way that she's drawn is, I can't tell if the way that she's drawn really makes her look like a kid.
Yeah, man, they really do relate her to Steve Trevor, and I didn't pick up on that as much.
Like she's wearing the bomber jacket.
Yeah, like now I
do.
They
have the whole flashback, and the outfit is so close. I was like, huh, that's interesting. I do like the flashback, though. I like the fact with the way they tied in the flashback where she's like, oh, so full of, like, inquisitiveness in the eyes. And then later on when she's like, humans, I can't trust them. They did this. Like, I didn't realize how much they did this to us. and she remembers that flashback again and remembering the hand on the gun. I like that a lot. Like realizing new details kind of stuff. Like that is fun.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. And I also liked how, like, you know, it's funny because you like called him Chris Pine because that's the actor who portrays him in the movie. But like this Steve Trevor looked like so old. I'm like, ooh, were you romantically interested in this Steve Trevor? Because he just
wait, what do you mean? What do you like? Nah, he looks like he's got a lot of scrapes and bruises. That's how I saw that.
I don't know. He looked older in the other one with the gun.
Wait.
No. The one later in the book.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. With the gun.
Gotcha.
Maybe it's the expression.
Yeah.
Like, making
I mean, to be fair, when that one D looks like she's kind of old too, with like the expressions and the wrinkles. I'm like, oh, maybe it's just the art making people look old.
No. See, I ran into that with like Wonder Woman, where I was like, wow, she's really been scraped up, and then they did the flashbacks to her like training, and she's like really scraped up there too. I'm like, oh, so she's just got a lot of scrapes from the beginning.
Yeah. Born that way.
Hey, she was made out of clay, but nobody talked about the sculpting ability of Hippolyta.
So is that the actual like backstory that's like normally canon?
Yes and no.
I think the taking blood of all the Greek gods is probably this story specific.
Yeah, because like, you know, I mean, I'm sure you're aware a lot of superhero comics creators were originally, what am I saying? They were Jewish.
Okay.
And so, you know, so it's like the original story has very golem-esque components. So it's like made out of clay and then like put a wish inside, you know? And so it's like basically her mother wished for a daughter, and then Zeus like struck the clay with lightning, you know, and she came to life. But that was her original origin, and then eventually it was all like, oh yeah, that was just, it's a little bit like Vampirilla actually. That was just a story we told you.
Gotcha.
And really, like, you know, it was Zeus who's your father, and then like I think the movies made Ares her father, but I can't remember if that's how it went.
Wait, who was the guy? I thought that was Ares.
Yeah, that was Ares.
No, so that would be her brother.
Oh, okay, so Zeus was her father in the movies. Then maybe then it's the reverse, and in the comics, Ares is her father.
Something like that.
Something like that. But basically, she's a demigod now instead of just a magic.
I can't tell whether or not I like that. I will say when I saw Wonder Woman and she was like, "You're my brother" or something like that, I was like, okay.
in the movie you're talking about, okay, yeah.
But yeah. I don't know if, I mean, to me her being a demigod is new, so I'm not sure if I like that as much.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the clay story, but you know, I see elements of both like being good. I don't really, you know, because like with the demigod stuff, they're more able to incorporate more of the greater DC universe, I guess, you know, with like the new gods and all of that stuff. Like they did Apocalypse War and had like a whole, like, there was like a negative Wonder Woman that like, and like it was just so weird, but I liked it too.
I really love doing that. Negative character.
Yeah. And
why be subtle with a foil when you could just be like, well, I'm the exact opposite of you?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's right. I remember she was not only just, she wasn't just in a negative version. She was actually Wonder Woman's twin.
Oh.
Secret twin. Yes. Oh. One was good and one was bad. Gotcha. And then she, the twin, got pregnant and birthed the new dark side.
Wait, so is the new dark side like dark side? Or?
Yeah, it's dark side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically she somehow got a hold of the anti-life equation.
Oh, such a good name. I love it.
And so that made her able to recreate dark side.
Oh, okay.
But he was a baby. And then he grew up.
Gotcha.
Comics are weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, but I like it when she's made out of clay too.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I was just gonna tie it back into, we're gonna go over it soon, but the whole thing with her and Superman, and also, like you mentioned, I think already, her they're not bracelets. I guess they're bracelets.
Yeah.
They're called gauntlets.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, her bulletproof gauntlets normally, and the fact that in this story they're used as like a power inhibitor.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like the fact that they talk about her backstory being, her mother taking all the blood from all the gods while they were like drunkenly sleeping, and using that to create her. And that leading into the idea of why she's so strong that she has to be careful even when she's training as a kid. Mm-hmm. And then what happens in the story, what she does with that power when she doesn't, control herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have something you want to say?
No, I was just gonna let you go into what happened to the world.
Okay, so what happened to the world, so basically this is a post-apocalyptic timeline. I think actually centuries have passed, but there is what the people who are alive believe is that a huge bomb or multiple huge bombs went off, probably missiles launched at each country, that kind of thing. And so everything's a wasteland and there are very few humans alive. And that includes the superheroes. All the superheroes are either gone or dead. And so we find Wonder Woman in a capsule and in the Batcave. And so it's just, so like why I played the song was, there's a line in the song, all my heroes are dead and gone. Like perfect transition.
Gotcha.
But so the story with Wonder Woman and Superman was that Superman tried to save the world. So from all missiles that were launched, he tried to save them, but he missed one, right? And
so before that, the whole thing is, the Amazonians are going up against the world. The Amazonians are like, you need to stop with what you're doing to the world. You're like ruining it, like pollution and the such. Like, kind of. I mean, I don't think they say it outright, but it's global warming kind of style. It's what they're trying to stop. So the Amazonians have stepped in diplomatically, and Superman just wants to stop the bloodshed. So he's kind of fighting back against the Amazonians because they're going up against the world's armies. So I mean, it kind of puts Superman at opposition to Wonder Woman, I think, at that moment, because he's like, I don't want to fight you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So leading to what you're saying.
Yeah, and so then he missed one, and so it hit Themyscira, and apparently the force field or whatever that the Paradise Island has couldn't withstand the radiation, and so they all started transforming. And Wonder Woman was like, super pissed off, and somehow I can't remember how her bracelets got knocked off, but her bracelets or gauntlets.
No. Her mom convinced her to take the gauntlets off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes, so her mom convinced her to take the gauntlets off, and then when that incident happened, she went after Superman. Now here's my question. I question why Daniel Warren Johnson wrote that into the story. Why did he decide? And so what happened was that they got into a fight, and Wonder Woman beat the snot out of Superman. And I wonder why he put that into the story.
to be clear, why he put in like the power dampening, or why
he decided to write Wonder Woman killing Superman.
Okay. Yeah, and also I would like to address your question, but first I did want to give my opinion to it in general. The fact of the matter that, like, you know, I felt like they were building to something a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more interesting than like, oh, all of this carnage was caused by a big superhero fight. Like, I mean, I guess in like a singular kind of way, like it was just two people rather than like, say, a comic event like Civil War, where it's all like, oh, every superhero has been fighting and causing a lot of damage. You know, it's like, okay, it was these two mega powerful people and they caused, like, you know, the world to burn.
I mean,
but
I think I'm gonna say, I think the blame sort of falls more to Wonder Woman, right? Because Superman, like I was saying, he's doing his best not to fight Diane. He's just trying to stop the Amazonians from fighting the humans at first, before the bombs happen. And then after that, she's just so inconsolable because she tried to stop all the bombs and wasn't able to in some ways. And I think Superman also apologizes, like, I'm sorry, I was trying to save Smallville from a bomb, so like I wasn't here to help too. And he's just kind of the first thing she latches on to. I don't think he's doing that much fighting back, so I think it's just her kind of doing all this carnage. He's just able to survive it, which just lengthens the problem.
So you think he was more like, I'm not going to fight you?
He has a line where he literally says, I don't want to fight you, Diane. So I think any sort of fighting he does is defensive.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that, like, you know, as far as like the choice for like the story, I think that it's like, okay, so we need, like, I mean, I don't know, because I haven't had like a lot of time to like really consider, like, you know, what is the story trying to say? Because, like, I mean, like, one of the themes I think that's pretty easy to go off of is, like, we are going to really be in a bad situation no matter what if, like, global warming keeps happening. You know, sea levels are going to rise and things are going to get bad fast. That's one theme. But then also I think that it's like, okay, so Wonder Woman kind of represents a special hope for mankind, you know? And then it's like, when all of that is taken away and she is the cause of it, it's like, I don't know, is it like trying to say that we need to police ourselves better? I don't know. It is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any answers. It's just, to me, not necessarily odd, but like, it raises questions to me.
I think there's, I'm trying to tie it into what you're saying, but I think there's an overall theme of being almost idealistic, you know, like you're saying, she's hope, and she makes a point at several times of pointing out how inhuman she is. Like, she's very strong, obviously, like, physically, but also mentally. Like, I think towards the beginning, she's like, oh, I love you. I love humankind. Like, I care about you infallibly. Like, I can't just give up on you guys. And Dee's like, you can't live like that. That's inhuman. And she's like, exactly. And then later on, when it comes out that she's the one who did this, like, you know, global warming wasn't great and the bombs weren't great, but man, did her fight with Superman just mess everything up all the rest of the way. She goes, you know, I thought I wasn't human. I thought that I was above that in some way, and more I realized how much I can just make mistakes so easily.
She saw herself as, like, you know, God, like a god. Not in like the egomaniac kind of way, but like, you know, not a human. And then she was realizing that, oh, you know, there is a part of me that's very human. But also, like, even Hippolyta talking to name Nubia was like, I made her that way. Like she's like super powerful, but like she has a lot of emotion. Like I made her that way. Although granted, I don't like the explanation. Like the explanation on how that made her emotional, I don't really get. But I don't know why you would do that. Like I feel like you would be like, no, I want to make her like able to control her emotions, or at least not have a lot of emotion. Like I don't get why you would make her have an overabundance.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, 'cause I mean, you want to, because Hippolyta was saying that she was making a protector, and so you want somebody to be fervent, I think, to strike immediately because it's a feeling, not what's like, necessarily the most advantageous in the moment. Yeah, I guess the question that I'm having now, considering this greater question, is it's like, other than the very specific situation, like the plot of it, like, basically Themyscira was getting swallowed up by the rising oceans, could you have just had Superman in her place?
Meaning
like, basically, like, how is this directly a Wonder Woman story versus a Superman story?
I see. Yeah. I could see there being I see that how you can switch their roles, and it would seem very similar.
Yeah, especially because we've said, like, she's supposed to, like, represent, like, hope for humankind and stuff, and it's like, well, that's also kind of what Superman is about too, and it's like, and I think that, like, yeah, it's really tough to, like, pin down how they're different, even though one's an alien and one is, from the gods.
Yeah, and I think that, to me, the idea of having Wonder Woman be like, "I love you" to humanity is really off character for her. Like to me, she seems very much like. To me, in this story in particular, Wonder Woman seems very close to the people that she is protecting, very close to humanity. But that, to me, is very different from a lot of other superheroes, because to me, superheroes aren't close to, like, just the regular people. They're off with their other superhero partners.
Yeah, and I feel like that, like, maybe might be a part of what we were talking about earlier, where it seems like the story goes really fast. I think it also, like, assumes a lot of thought for the characters. Like, there's no narration or, thought bubble or anything like that for, like, what's going on inside, like, Wonder Woman's head. And so it's like, I feel like maybe she is quickly deciding that this new world is different than her old world, which, like, but I would like to see that more, and same goes for, like, I noticed she, like, very quickly sheds, like, any super heroic personas. Like, she's like, I need to go see Clark, my name's Diana, she doesn't care about secret identities, which is, like, obvious, but it's also like, all of those things about the old world are so quick to be gotten rid of.
I mean, so the whole thing with that isn't it that she, like, lost her memory? Like, she comes out and she's like, I don't remember what happened.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is just that your criticism of basically, like, being so close to humans and humanity, like, she's, I guess, like, basically just, like, being more open and honest because there's so few humans is what I would think. Also, another possibility, too, though, is they might be older. Like, I mean, obviously, yes, centuries have gone by at this point, but, like, it kind of looked like in one panel where Batman is featured that he maybe had gray hair. And so yeah, like, you know, she's immortal, so you can't really tell how old it was when the Great Fire happened, but like they might have aged a little bit, and so she might have changed also based on, like, you know, what we are most familiar with as her character.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I'm not super familiar with her character, but I do agree that, like, if you switched her with Superman, I could really see it as, like, the actions she takes in this story of, like, forgiving, I'm forgetting the leader's name, but, you know, all the forgiveness and, like, trying to understand humans feels very, like, something Superman could easily do as well. Like, oh, we gotta believe in them. And this, in comparison, like, Wonder Woman, like, I think of, like, she never uses this for, like, anything in this plot. Her lasso of truth. So isn't she very much about, like, truth and justice, and, like, maybe it doesn't feel good, but it's justice, right?
Yeah.
But in return, like, in this, instead, it's more like, well, it feels good, even if it's not totally justice, like letting this horrible person live.
Yeah, and that's it's so tough to, like, pin down exactly, you know, who she is and, like, you know, who Superman is, because you say, like, she's about truth and justice, but also a popular tagline of Superman is truth, justice, and the American way. And it's like, who is who? But yeah, I think that in a lot of iterations, you know, I'm especially thinking of, like, you know, maybe the Justice League cartoon series. Wonder Woman is a little bit more brutal, a little bit more warrior-like, you know? So she might, yeah, I would agree that maybe it's a little off character for her to be so forgiving and so...
Yeah, and even I'm thinking of, I think it was, like, Identity Crisis, something to that effect, where, or maybe it was the lead up, no, I don't know, whatever it was, you know, I think the story was that Maxwell Lord took over Superman's mind, and then Superman, you know, was doing his bidding, and then Wonder Woman just used her, like, tiara to slice his throat.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's the Wonder Woman I'm expecting to see, and that is not the Wonder Woman we're getting in this story.
Yeah, yeah. And I kind of agree with that. And also, like, the other thing, too, is Superman is very, very diplomatic, you know? Like, he will try to, like, you know, come to terms with both parties that are disagreeing, like, as much as possible. But Wonder Woman usually will, you know, she'll figure out what she feels like is just, you know? And then she'll say, okay, I'm fighting for this side, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think, you know, and it's hard to choose, like, which sources to draw upon, you know? Like, are we talking, like, you know, we have to draw upon only mainstream DC Universe comics? But, I mean, I feel like that's out the window considering that we're talking about something that is not mainstream.
Yeah.
But, because I'm thinking of, I think it was The Dark Knight Returns, not the movie, but it was the sequel to The Dark Knight. Or no, I'm still saying the wrong titles.
It's The Dark Knight Returns.
It's The Dark Knight. Okay, so The Dark Knight Returns.
You're talking about the Frank Miller?
Frank Miller.
Yeah.
But that one was the first one. What's the second one? The sequel.
I that I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I only watched the movie, so it was like part 1 and 2.
Anyway, though, so yeah, there was a sequel to it. I can't remember. Oh, I do. It's The Dark Knight Strikes Back. That's what it is. I think. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm getting so confused now. But anyway, basically, Diana is in that one, and she is, like, basically, like, helping some, like, Vietnamese women, like, fight against, like, the oppressive government. And she's like, you know, and Superman's basically like, hey, like, do you really think this is your place to, like, be meddling in government affairs, you know? And she's like, I don't know, I just fight for what's right, you know?
Gosh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And meanwhile, of course, Superman is, like, super hypocritical because he's, like, the lap boy to, like, Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
was like, yeah. Anyway, though, so yeah, that's I guess what I expect from Wonder Woman, and this comic was much more Superman.
I'm hesitant to introduce this next topic because we're going into a break so soon, but I guess I will introduce to me. So as I was reading this, I was like, there was that aspect of like, this is not characteristic of Wonder Woman, right? But then I was like, but this feels very characteristic of what I think is the Judeo-Christian God.
I felt that too.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, because she spent time, with she got close to the humans that she was protecting, and so some instances here where her saying I love humanity, so the Judeo-Christian God loves people, and then like her leading a city of people from one city to the next. I thought it was funny how like they were like, oh man, how can you move an entire city? and I was like, well, Moses did it. but yeah, her leading an entire city. I mean, that's that is how God is portrayed in the Bible. How she, and this is kind of taking a little bit of a liberty, but how she sees in not in years but in lifetimes. I'm like, taking a liberty to say that that's how God views us. I mean, because like it's said that he's more like he's exact outside of time and space, right? Yeah. So like, that's probably the best like human understanding we could put that as. Yeah. And then she was like, and when they were getting ready to fight the Hydras, so like a bunch of Hydras came up to the base and started like attacking, and she like her battle cry, I guess you could say, was like, even if today is your last day, I will be with you until the end.
Right. Yeah, I felt like that was especially weird of her to say, because I'm like, wait, no, but you're not gonna die. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah, but
like that would throw me off my battle game if I was about to try to be like, wait, don't say that.
They don't know that though. They just know she's really cool, right?
Yeah.
I think the sentiment is very sweet, but yeah, it is a little like, well, you can say that, of course, all you want. Like 30 of us is gonna die in like the first second.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course they were like, you made believers out of us. I was like, I don't know if Daniel Warren Johnson, is that his name, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if he was like trying to pull from like Judeo-Christian belief, but like that's a little too coincidental.
Yeah, I mean, I am tempted to say that it was like, well, for one, like, you can't ignore that is one of the most like believed religions in the world. And so it's all like, okay, we're dealing with God stuff, and then so it's like just like osmosis-ing into it, but because like, some of this stuff could probably be relayed to like Greek gods or just any gods, and especially with how much she sees herself as a god as opposed to a human, and it's funny, I forgot, because I read like the first issue like a couple of days ago, and then I continued basically today reading it, and oh man, I really wish Jake was here, because we are both Steven Universe fans, and her saying I love humans, and like then clarifying that she isn't human was very rose quartz. It's just like, which again, like that's so like alien, that's an alien thing to do, and like so that just leads back into the Superman thing, but I'll leave that where it be. But yeah, basically going back to what you were saying though, I think that there's definitely things that popped up for me too. I was like, Yes, this seems very Christian, but like not necessarily. Like it's just a little bit, though. Yeah. I don't know.
I will say, because I haven't said anything about like what Talon brought up as far as like the possible biblical like illusions or whatever. Totally flew over my head. I did not make any of those connections. Okay. So like Talon doing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like wow. Kind of adds up.
That's good to know, because I was all like, was it just me and Talon? Like, I mean, I know that like between you and me, like you have a lot more connection to like the Bible, just knowing it, like plain. I'm like, I know some things, but mostly in reference to media and literature. But yeah. But anyway, so going into this article by Comic Beat, so that one, so we said in regards to the biblical themes that one of them was how often Diana said that she loves humanity, and she says, I love you. And so Darren Warren Johnson talked a little bit about that, essentially saying something to the effect of not being afraid to say I love you. Did you want to...
Yeah, so he literally says, like, you don't see that in Superman or Batman, but Wonder Woman can say I love you. And I don't know if I agree with that, but it's an interesting idea that he's running with.
Right.
He makes that distinction.
Yeah. Do you think that that's like, that seems like very toxic masculinity, like men cannot say I love you.
That's the thing. I'm like, I feel like Superman could say it.
Yeah. Batman might be a little traumatized. Parents, right?
Well, so I will say this. Like, to me, I think Superman views himself as a human a little too much to say I love you, like, to humanity in general.
I don't know. It's the problem I have with that explanation is that, like, I feel like, if you see yourself more as human, then you have more reason to have a kinship,
Well, to me, to say that I love you, as like, to humanity, to me seems very, like, feels like a statement from somebody who's removed from.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, I mean, in the previous segment before the break, I did say that was more alien, but I think, I think that saying I love humans is more removed, and then saying I love you is a little bit more personal. And I guess that's the cognitive dissonance I'm having, where I'm like, well, one and then the other. Like,
I mean, I will say that to me, how I interpret what Daniel Warren Johnson was saying was that I love you to humanity. Like yes, I could say I would believe that Superman would say I love you to people close to him, not necessarily to humanity in general.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Even that being said, though, I think, I think that it's like removed to say something like, I love humanity, like that's saying like, I think that they're cute, like I really like them, but they're not me. But I think that, like, if Superman were to say I love humanity, it would actually have a different meaning. It would be like, I'm, it's especially pertinent because Superman isn't human, and so it would be like, I have lived among you and I feel a kinship to the human race. So so that's where I feel like Superman could say it and mean it, Meanwhile, I guess I feel like I feel it less meaningfully from Wonder Woman when she's in this way where she feels more like a god than a human. which is like so backwards, you know, because he's an alien and she's like from human gods, you know. Like,
and yeah, so to me it's like just a different characterization of Wonder Woman.
Also, not to like just totally derail our topic train here, but I just like something that we were talking about earlier in the program just clicked and I just gotta bring it up. And maybe it'll be short, maybe it'll be long, I have no idea. But we were talking about her origin and like, you know, her being made of clay, and it just now clicked. She's made of earth, dead earth. It's I just got it. She is the earth. It's a thing. That's why they chose that one instead of her just being a demigod or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So so them killing the planet, or well, I mean people killing the planet, humankind, whatever, and then, you know, that's like, it's really like a kind of self-defense kind of thing. She is the earth. And yeah, I don't know. That was just like something, an interesting realization that I just now clicked into place.
Yeah, that's an interesting subtext. I want to think about that more.
Yeah.
Because her fighting against an alien like Superman then and killing him.
Earth is superior.
Finally, we've shown it.
Man, yeah. So that was just like, yeah. Anyway, though, going back to the interview and the I love you stuff, yeah. I mean, actually, still writing that subtext a little bit. Then it's like, you know, it's a little bit more like she's less like, you know, the Christian God or Jesus or any like of those prominent biblical figures, and she's more like Mother Earth in a way, you know. It's like basically like all of this stuff is for you, you know, and you've like squandered it and I'm mad now. I don't know.
About the mad part, that's where it little falls
apart
for me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely something got to think about more, I think, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, humans attacking with the bombs, and, you know, that's scorching the earth, and so, like you're saying, defensive, kind of fighting back, even though it hurts themselves, even though it's self-destructive to Wonder Woman and the earth.
Yeah.
It's kind of there.
Okay.
So, what do you think about? What were you gonna say?
No, go for it.
So still talking about the I love you thing. Like Batman. Like I thought Cody was going with like Batman could say I love you.
I mean, to all of humanity, like, I mean, yeah, I think that he is a little bit too even. He's traumatized by, like, you know, toxic masculinity, I feel like. You know, he's gotta be. He's such a tough guy, you know? Like...
His whole thing is literally like, oh, the police won't take it this far, so I will. And, like, I'll throw the villain off the roof if you won't. So I think if you put him in Wonder Woman's position, he would have been like, Cheetah, go for it.
Yeah.
Kill the oppressor.
I feel like Batman would have done it. I feel like Batman would have done it a little bit differently. I don't think he would necessarily like given up. Like I think he would have been less like conciliatory and more let's rah. Oh, let's fight back kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
As far as what part? What part, though, are you talking about? Like, who would he be fighting back against?
He would definitely be fighting against the Hydras. Like, I see Batman as more like, all right, let's bunker down, like, where this is our turf.
Yeah, it's hard to see him in a leadership position too. Like, you know, he kind of like everything is behind the scenes for him. You know, he leads the Justice League behind the scenes even. Like, Superman is the figurehead, who does also make decisions, you know. But, like, you know, he isn't going to be, you know, in front and center. And then, like, you know, he has Batman and the Outsiders. And so, like, they're specifically outsiders, you know.
Gotcha.
And so it's like...
I was even thinking about... Now, I don't know if this is different from the book versus the movie, but the Dark Knight Returns movie, and he's like, he takes the Sons of Batman underground.
Right. Yeah, he does enter a leadership position in that way, I guess. So,
but also to me, that's like from behind the scenes, because
right,
the Sons of Batman are going to be up top. You know?
Yeah, and he's going to be underground, right? Yeah. So that's a very good point too. You know, he will lead things, but it's always under a veil. You know, he can't be out in public.
So he would have then gone to D and say, "This is what you're going to tell your people."
Yeah. You have the ability to inspire people. Yes. He'd probably be like, I see Superman in you.
And D is like, who?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so it's been like centuries, so I'm sure they don't even remember who they are.
Yeah, no, well, kind of, because I thought that D gave some context that, like, you know, the pilgrimages to the Fortress of Solitude. I thought that...
No... It had to be Cheetah, right?
Oh, yeah.
D wouldn't know about that. Like, D wasn't there when, like, the bombs first fell and all the people were still alive and, like, had the ideas of Superman.
Because, like, she was talking about how her grandfathers would tell them this story. Because her grandfathers knew what happened.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, like, even when they're trying to describe what happened and they're super vague about it, it's not because they don't want to tell her. It's just more of, we've kind of forgotten. All the people who were there at the time are dead.
Yeah. Or they didn't want to relive it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to say that maybe this is only one century, not multiple centuries. Because, like...
I think so. Because it's close enough, but it's not too far. And I was going to say, it's more like, she was saying... The people who knew are dead, and even when they were alive, they didn't want to relive what just happened.
Right.
So they didn't talk about it really.
Yeah, that makes sense. But also, I just realized, why is Cheetah alive? Like, how did she...
My best guess is just like the Wrecking Crew, she became Cheetah through, like, Paradise Island magic.
Maybe.
The Wrecking Crew is like a Thor team of villains.
Yes.
And so they got like Asgardian medals.
Yeah, basically it's the silliest thing where some writer said, you know, we gave this guy, we were inspired by Norse mythology, and so we have a hero with a hammer, so what if we had, like, a bunch of other magical construction equipment? Because, you know, hammers weren't used in war first. It's just like such a weird, silly idea, but it's lasted for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, though, yeah, I said it earlier, but I'm gonna have to look into Cheetah more and like what her deal is, and how she's alive, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, there's been multiple Cheetahs. I guess I'm not that surprised by that. But
I am. I'm only aware of one.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, I think the main one is Barbara Minerva, but there's also been Deborah Demain, and the original one was Priscilla Rich. She was just wearing a cheetah suit. She's still a human.
That must... I have a shirt of all the DC villains. That must have been who was on the cover, because she's in a costume. Minerva. Now, isn't that the name of like a Captain Marvel character?
Maybe. I mean, I think that's more related to, like, the naming convention anyway, is that that's the Roman name for Athena, goddess of wisdom.
Gotcha. I'm sure that's why they were going with it.
Yeah. Anywho, though.
Really? That's the name for Athena?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Uh-huh.
Gotcha.
Okay. Can I just say, I just realized we've been calling, what's his name? Edog?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been calling him Tal by accident. So,
okay.
Tal died pretty quickly, unfortunately.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Wait, okay, was he the one that died, like, way at the beginning, or was he the one that got stabbed on Themyscira?
Stabbed. Big stab by Nubia.
Yeah, okay, right. He was the smart one. He figures things out.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah, I knew I was getting my people on that camp confused, but that's what happens when you don't develop your characters enough.
or you don't take the time to write, like, the characters' names.
Yeah, I mean, still,
If I read a story, I should be able to, at the very least, be able to, like, remember a few of the characters' names other than Wonder Woman.
Gotcha.
Did not happen in this case.
Yeah.
So going back to the interview, I think Daniel Warren Johnson specifically says, I was trying to explore the pitfalls of trying to grip too tight to something that you're not really supposed to be able to control. So, I mean, that kind of ties into Diana's whole being too powerful and trying to control it, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it was more on Hippolyta's side, trying to control her.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, that's... So, that's vague enough to, obviously have some openness to interpretation, and I think that it's like... I didn't get the feeling that Wonder Woman was necessarily trying to control humanity, But I do wonder, like, then what was trying to be controlled. Also, that just reminded me, too, like, I think both Wonder Woman and Superman basically have a line where it was like, we didn't think that they would use the nukes, and I'm like, come on. You didn't think that they would use the nukes?
Like humans? Like, I don't know. That seems very Professor Xavier. I don't know about that.
Yeah. The mission control room, they're literally like, good idea, Mr. President. We told you this would be a great idea. And, like, the nukes have just been launched. Like, they're already congratulating themselves and nothing's, like, come to fruition yet. Yes.
So, I think to me, how I interpret what he was saying in the interview about trying to hold on too tightly to something that isn't meant to be controlled was Hippolyta trying to be like, I created you to be this specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps, now that I'm thinking about it, that doesn't quite make sense for Hippolyta, because she didn't even want her to wear the gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
Or that wasn't something that she brought up. That was Nubia.
But, okay, so that might not be the control thing, but if you look at it, her guiding Diana, just the whole, because I think, like, we were looking at, if we put Superman in this position, if we put Batman in this position, like, how would they have reacted in comparison to Wonder Woman? And the whole thing, I think there's a great emphasis placed on, like, how her mother is influencing her. Like, look at these humans and what they did to us. You need to react in this way. This is the correct way to deal with this. And so I think it's a sense more emotional control and, like, guiding her actions than actually, like, having her control her powers. Because, like, unleash your powers on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know exactly still, like, if I'm convinced all the way. But yeah, I can see that a little bit better.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm relating those two together, but I just don't feel like that was the big overall thing of the story. And if it was not as clear. Like, it's only after like hearing him say that, where I'm like, okay, I can see where you placed a great importance on what's this dynamic between like Wonder Woman and her mother, but it's not that big.
I don't know. So there was something else that he said in this interview about I think he also said there was another thing that he was, or actually no, it was the interviewer who brought up that there are themes that occur in Daniel Warren Johnson's other titles was bearing hate of others and turning the other cheek. And Daniel Warren Johnson's response to that was that this book was less about forgiveness and more about trust. And that there needs to be a reconnection of trust. Do you see that as more clear than the other theme that he brought up? Like trying to control something that's not meant to be controlled.
It's really funny that you specifically said forgiveness, because if I was to choose one theme of the book, I'd say forgiveness.
Gotcha.
Because, I mean, looking at the big reveal is that Wonder Woman did this to the Earth. She killed Superman, and she finds this all out after she I can't trust humans. I don't know why I trusted them in the first place. Like, you shouldn't have trusted me to trust you and take care of you, and leaves, and that's whole separation thing. And then later, when Dee is with her, she, explains what she did. She confesses to it. And then, she talks about the fact that it was a mistake, and she's kind of surprised at the fact that she made that mistake, and the whole thing with being human, more human than she realized. And I feel like in that moment, her expressing that to Dee is asking for forgiveness, right? So, I mean, I think to say it's like trust versus forgiveness is kind of like ignoring the fact that those two are really closely connected ideas.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like there's like kind of two, like now that, I would agree with you, Shwenta, that basically I would say that forgiveness is like a major theme, but I think that there's like kind of two different readings now that I see, like, him saying that it's about trust, because it's like in one way, it's the way that like I also feel like it was about forgiveness, like, but then it's like also like that breaking of trust, like Wonder Woman had trust in humanity, and then and Dee and the humans had trust in her, and they both broke that trust, but then they had to come back together. And so it's kind of like, I think that trust and forgiveness is kind of intertwined in that way. We're going to continually be trusting certain things. That trust is continually going to be broken, but we're going to ultimately need to re-engage in that trust contract again in order to continue going on.
I guess it ties into one of those ideas where, like, some people say, oh, you made a mistake, I forgive you, versus other people who are like, you made a mistake, I don't forgive you, and I won't forget, but, like, I trust you to be better than this, to move on. We have to move on. So I guess, I mean, she's not asking Cheetah to forgive them for, like, the experiments they did on them, but I guess in some ways she is asking Cheetah to trust that they can change.
And to me, how I see that trust, not so much like trust versus forgiveness, because I agree with you guys that those are very intertwined, but theme of trust versus the theme of trying to control something that isn't meant to be controlled. I do believe that trust is a little bit more present. Not only because they say trust a lot of times, but also because, even in the start of the book, they find Wonder Woman and they don't trust her, so they like tranquilize her, like throw her in the dungeon. Or, well, okay, first they bring her to Thaden, the leader of the Camp New Hope. And then, it's like, well, how do we trust that you're going to help us? Because it's like we've been living this way for a long time, and we don't see how you could get us out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah. I guess believing in someone does require you to trust them to a great extent. Mm-hmm. And so the constant thing of like, oh, we believe in her, that's why we'll follow her into battle, is about trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that you're relating the thing he said about trying to control something that can't be controlled, and that being trust. Like that, I think that works pretty well, actually.
Yeah, that does kind of help to tie it together a little bit better. We wanted to talk about
the serum, the syringe.
Oh, okay, right. Yes.
Right. I was like, I don't remember.
Sorry, I remembered, but I didn't want to like interrupt you and get you off track.
No, that's fine. So yeah, basically, in the story, Wonder Woman is essentially is weakened. Her powers are dampened. I think that this kind of gets explained that her powers were weakened in her fight with Superman.
Yeah,
and maybe
she used
like
too much of it.
Yeah,
that's almost what they say. Literally, that she just like used up too much of it in the fight, expended herself too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, I'm gonna need a little bit of support for this one, but so she, she gets into like a comatose kind of state, you know.
Yeah.
And then
Batman put her in the capsule to help heal her.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't enough to like get her powers back.
Right. And so they had like a syringe.
Yeah.
And Batman gave Superman's robot.
Not the robot Superman.
Yeah, not to be confused with Robot Superman.
Or Calyx.
I don't know who Calyx is.
I'm pretty sure that's the flying robot that's in the fortress.
Oh, okay. Sure. I don't know.
It sounds like he's got a lot of robots.
He does. The alien has a lot of robots. Anyway, yeah, so basically Batman, so was this syringe, even explained in the book? Was it just, Batman, was able to concoct it in his last moments of being, irradiated?
I think that's what happened. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, I read it and I reread it, and I'm still, not super sure, but it's definitely, from Batman, the way he did it is very unclear.
Yeah.
But if the syringe is given to Wonder Woman, she'll get her powers back to full power. And so Batman leaves it in the hands of, one of the robots of Superman, the one that greets Wonder Woman when she comes to the fortress.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not given to her. And I think these are kind of specific instructions that it needs to be given to the people she's wronged. And so they can make the choice of, and once again, not the choice of to forgive her for what she's done, but trusting that this time will be different, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
So Dee gets it.
So the way that it's quoted here is that a long time ago, an old friend placed Diana in a special chamber. Batman did that.
Mm-hmm.
It was designed specifically to heal her and bring her back to full strength. But that strength is dormant. It must be activated with this being the syringe. But again, How did Batman know that?
Yeah, I'm is it is in the syringe Ichor, the blood of the gods? Did she get extra blood? I just don't understand how throughout this story she's supposed to be so godly, so attached to the magic of the gods, and then Batman is just aha, I have scienced it. I've made a serum that will give God power back to God.
Also,
like you're saying, in the last moments of his life, that moment where Batman's sipping and about to die. That was actually really sad.
Yeah.
He was like, I was like confused because he was like, heh. And I was like, what are you laughing at? I just.
Yeah, I mean, I guess probably he's laughing that, like, you know, just the absurdity of, like, you know, everything, you know, and then, like, and that this is, like, you know, he basically got killed by nuclear fallout of a nuke instead of, like, you know, the Joker or something. Just, like, all these dangerous situations. He could have died the first time he jumped off a roof.
Right.
It's just like, this. Okay. Yeah.
Also, I find it weird that so it's in a green box. Takes out the syringe. The syringe is a bit yellow, and he stabs her, and then it's like a huge lightning or like explosion. Like I don't understand.
Yeah, it's
connecting to the gods. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got to be magic, not chemical.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. And you know, really what it makes me wonder is, like, lots of people talk about how Batman, like, you know, has a contingency unless one of the Justice League members goes rogue. And so I'm like, does he also have a contingency if they, like, if they lose their powers? Like, I mean, I guess that was
reverse engineering his neutralization plan, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, of course, too, though, that's like, you know, you can't reverse engineer, like, killing with kryptonite, though. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Technically, they do have gold kryptonite, which just removes powers.
Well, like, permanent. Well, Smallville said permanently.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
That's true. Yeah. Permanently removes Superman's powers. But I don't know how you'd reverse engineer that either. It's like, that's the whole point, is it's permanent. So it's like...
Right.
Yeah.
Use it to find anti-kryptonite?
Well, so you're forgetting the blue kryptonite.
Ah.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
No, sorry. No, not blue kryptonite. Sorry. Take that back. That's not right.
It isn't right?
No.
Okay,
well,
what is it?
I'm going by Smallville information, so I don't know if that's 100% accurate to the comics.
Most of their kryptonite information is kind of right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, well, okay, so if you are Bizarro, blue kryptonite is awesome.
Ah.
If you're Clark Kent or Superman, blue kryptonite takes away your powers when you're in contact with it.
Ah. Okay. I feel like there's some sort of kryptonite that boosts Superman's powers, maybe. I know that a blue sun will make his powers extra. You know, red sun takes them away, yellow sun gives them, blue sun is extra.
You know, that's funny because the blue lanterns enhance the green lanterns.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
Blue is just an enhancer color.
Yes.
Anyway, though, so yeah, I don't remember what color kryptonite, like, helps boost the power, but I don't know.
It must be out there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so maybe that might...
I wouldn't know. I'm gonna say, like, I don't have any of that canon information, so I was literally talking in concepts. Like, there's good kryptonite, there's obviously bad kryptonite, because just like with all the characters, like we were talking about, if there's a good Superman, there's a bad Superman, anti-Superman, whatever you want to call it. Like,
I mean, that's... The thing is that you're exactly right, though. You don't have to have the canon information. All of this stuff was written at, like, the speed of sound, so you don't really have to think about it. You're just like, what kind of makes sense? Okay. I don't know.
I mean, it literally says that in the interview. He's like, sometimes I just had to be like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm going for it, and, like, fudge it, like, a page or something. Which he said was really good with, like, when he was designing Cheetah, he could give her that cheetah hand, and like there's not enough time to go back and forth and be like, why are you doing this to our character? He was just like allowed to roll with it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like how you get like such wacky, you know, kind of concepts that I really personally enjoy. It's just like that, like, just roll with it, you know. And I think that's why I liked the cheetah hand so much. It's like, yeah, just put a whole another cheetah head on there, you know.
In more cynical words, it's you didn't have an editor look over your shoulder. Okay.
which can be a really good thing.
Yeah.
Or very bad. Like, trust yourself too much.
Right.
So Cheetah's hand, sorry, I'm going off tangent, but visually, there's a lot of things I really like that he tried, like, especially, like, Wonder Woman's costume, like, the idea of, like, Batman's belt, right? And then also, I think her lower half, a lot of times, is that suit that she was put into the tube by Batman. That suit is so cool. I love that suit's design.
Yeah.
Even though it's just kind of sci-fi style.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, Superman's fortress. So he talked about this in the interview where he, like, tried to think of, like, iconic designs for each issue, like, for monsters or, like, scenes and composition-wise to try to, like, really grab the reader. And I think for Superman's fortress, like, the "Where are you?" on the front and, like, Wonder Woman standing in front of that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, just like, yeah, and also like they really put out the, like, thousands of people waited for him, you know, and there was just a sea of skulls. And it was just like, ooh, guys.
And then we got to see it.
Yeah, that's more like where I got the idea of, like, I felt like there was a theme even trying to be built of a lack of self-reliance, you know, over-reliance on heroes, which, I mean, I think gets played with a little bit too much, like, not a lot of new stuff has been said, but, like, despite that fact, you know, I felt like that's maybe what they were trying to say when, like, thousands of people died in the Arctic because they were trying to get to Superman, who was dead.
Yeah, the one thing I am surprised about is the fact that they thought that Superman was still alive. Like, I would have imagined that they saw Wonder Woman and Superman fighting.
Well, I mean, they burned down the Earth, though. I don't know.
Most survivors probably died, and, like, people who didn't witness it, how are they gonna find out? So
yeah, because like, basically they were fighting so fast that nobody really saw the fight, you know.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was kind of what I got from it.
I do want to say, I don't know how I feel about this, but, like, Wonder Woman decides to use as a weapon Superman's head and spine.
Oh, yeah.
that part was like, I don't think this is respectful. Like, how necessary is this? And also, whoa, that's like your friend that you were just like, oh man, I killed my friend. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously, you know, all she was thinking about was like, hey, he's Kryptonian, his bones are, like, super strong. Okay, it won't break.
Is that what she was thinking? Like, because I sure didn't get that. I just saw her be like, well, there's a skull here, I might as well use it. I was like, you need that for your whip?
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I guess, you know, and that, like, all of that is such a good point, because, like, first reaction was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, cool, but now I'm like, so yes, it was because, like, you know, he's Kryptonian and extra strong bones, but that doesn't make any sense, because he's not alive. Your bones are alive. They're gonna, like, they can't absorb sunlight and become powerful. That was his skin.
Yeah, I mean, the action works out for her. It's really cool, and also it's super deadly, but, like, the way she got there, she did not know that was gonna work out. I feel like, what if it just broke into a million pieces immediately?
Yeah, like, I mean, if that were true, then there would be, like, you know, so there, like, there's kryptonite, you know, and that's like the shards of Krypton irradiated, and they fell to Earth. There would, like, be equal pieces of Kryptonian bone just falling to Earth that's, like, super strong because it's their super strong bones. Just like,
Can you imagine? Like, okay, like, Dee's there, too, and Dee just, like, had her give that big speech about, like, I killed my friend, Superman, I feel so bad about that and everything I did to the Earth, and then just, like, watching Wonder Woman go over and, like, rip out his spine.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and then also, like, I feel like covering up the lasso of truth, too, is, like, you know, like, it's almost like it should be, like, something that's symbolic more so than... Yeah, like...
I thought in the fight, like, you know, she's using the bones over the lasso of truth, and I thought that at some point it would break, and the lasso of truth would go around, like, one of the villains or something, and then they would say something and be sincere for a moment. Like, maybe Nubia, I thought they were going to do that with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because Nubia never really gets a chance to say how she feels since everything happened. She just sort of, with her actions, is defending, you know, the Amazonians and is on their side. But
yeah, it seemed weird that Nubia was even included. It's like, what are you serving, you know, as for the story, you know?
I mean, armor-wise, she was super cool, like, really intimidating figure, well drawn.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that might be... So we keep going over, like, the really cool visuals, but sometimes it's like, well, what's backing this up?
Right. Yeah, it's really tough. It's like... so the visuals were cool, and there was even, like, you know, we're kind of, like, tearing it apart in certain areas, but I liked reading this, you know, even if it wasn't, like... totally perfect, you know, and it wasn't totally Wonder Woman, and certain things just don't make sense, but like it was fun to read, you know. So I think that's important to say too.
I'm like kind of so on this.
Why so? What's your big reasons?
My big reason is that the art, like I did not enjoy the art, and so that really took like a lot of, I guess, what would be gusto or like excitement for this book out of it.
Probably like the opposite, where I'm like, if this was illustrated by someone else, I would have been less interested.
Yeah.
It's still, I really do enjoy stories where they're like, Superman's dead, Batman's dead because of some reason. What do we do now? Like, how can we keep going? And I think you talked about this, like, this over-reliance on superheroes. But I do feel like the whole concept, the over-reliance on superheroes, kind of didn't land in the end because they keep going back to Wonder Woman. They're like, well, we trust you, so take care of us.
Yeah, that is exactly a problem that I had. If I, like, you know, I felt like that was the theme trying to be conveyed, was it's like, man, they really do just, like, you know, fall back into old habits.
No. So the topic would be over-reliance on superheroes, but the theme would be the author saying, oh, that's a good thing.
I guess so. Yeah. It's like, need to have trust in our systems then? Like, man, that just feels a little bit...
Need to have trust in ideals, right?
Right.
'Cause Wonder Woman in the end is an ideal.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be.
Nah, I was going for more like that seems very almost what's propagandic or propaganda?
Yeah, it does. I mean, that is kind of
trust in the status quo.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, you know, they might fail, but you have to trust in the justice system.
It'll work out in the end after quite a few people have passed.
Yep.
Yeah. They might be responsible for killing most of humanity, but you know what? At the end of the day, they're good.
Yes.
So, yeah, in the end, Dee trusts Wonder Woman enough to give her back her powers in the, like, heat of the battle. And in return, like, they're able to take back the island, and the people are all able to move there, the survivors, because, man, I'm sure they've lost a lot of people. And it seems like a safe haven, so it's very much... Because these are the first 5 issues collected, right?
4.
So it's pretty self-contained. but I do feel like there's going to be a continuation because Wonder Woman promises to go out and look for more people to try to help more people than just the people there.
To me, like, I can only envision that, like, if he was continuing this and Wonder Woman, like, you know, following Wonder Woman trying to rebuild Earth, the only way I would see that would be interesting would be if they encountered other creatures. Like, maybe not all the humans died. Maybe some of them were just turned into various other creatures. Like, I could only see that being interesting.
Or maybe, I think that the only way they could do that is, like, you know, and it's funny because this does relate back to that sequel to The Dark Knight, where basically it would be, how do the other superheroes who maybe didn't die, you know, we only saw Superman and Batman. Now we need to see.
I was gonna say, it'd be super cool for her to, like, stumble upon a superhero who's gone, like, mad with power.
Yeah.
That seems like an Oliver Queen thing. I can see Arrow doing that.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be cool.
I mean, yeah, I think that the most important thing, if we're gonna run into another hero and them be corrupted, is to, like, somehow be a foil to Diana. You know, like some problem that she's still overcoming and how she can deal with that.
Wonder Girl.
We're not gonna. Wonder Girl doesn't exist in this universe, and you know it.
You made me think of the fact that I feel like any foil to Diana that's been established was really quickly toppled, so she does feel kind of uninhibited character-wise. Like, nobody's gonna try to even question her, it feels like.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and I think that, like, basically the next question of her that needs to be asked is, like, you know, how do you know that you can be trusted? They may have trusted you, but how do you know that that wasn't wrong? And how are you changing, you know, how you do things? Are you just gonna repeat the cycle?
Gotcha. I can see them being interesting about that.
Yeah.
Well, we have reached the end of our 2 hours.
Yes. Until next time.
Wait. Who would be the person to choose the book? Wouldn't it be Jake?
Yes, I think Jake chooses next. But yes. So check out our social media presence on Facebook.
At It's Comic Time.
And on Instagram.
At the Comic Panel.
At the Comic Panel.
Underscores between the Comic Panel.
Yeah, the _comic_panel.
Right.
Yep.
And
our YouTube channel, the Comic Panel is Comic Time.
Yes. And probably on only the Facebook and Instagram, though, we will report what our next book choice is. But until then, this has been the Comic Panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Talon.
And I'm Shawenta.
And we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening. You can catch us Mondays, 5 to 7 p.m. on KSUA 91.5 FM, The People's Radio. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for listening. You can catch us Mondays, 5 to 7 p.m. on KSUA 91.5 FM, The People's Radio. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Comic Panel. It's